Are we waiting for anyone else?
I think we can probably go ahead and start.
Yep.
Look, you all know what we are. Just say it out loud.
Bren, apart from that being an inaccurate term, they're all muted.
Fine, say it in the Zoom chat. See? Vampires.
As I have stated in the Discord, and also, God, I have even lost count of how many times I've said it to you in person, Ren. Vampires is not a term that fully describes us. Of the 283 different vampire mythologies I have studied, none of them parallel our experience.
We have fangs. We consume human essence. I don't know what more of a label you want.
Not all of us have fangs.
Right. Sorry, Rufus.
I will, if I may, jump in and say, considering the vastness of our experience and the complexity of our lives, and including all the research I've done into vampires historically, yes, technically we're not vampires because vampire folklore does not traditionally have us being tied to a demon, but we do have a lot of vampire traits in it. Again, considering the vastness of experience, calling ourselves as a group vampires, not really worth the semantics of debating that.
Just misleading, especially for certain members of our group.
That's fair. Okay. So we've established, for those of you watching, I personally am okay with being called a vampire. We usually refer to this group as the vampires, but do note that some of our individuals do not like that name and that term. Are we good to move on?
Doesn't matter what we are, we're still very dangerous.
We are trying not to be dangerous. That is why we are having this meeting, Ren.
Yes. Alrighty. On that note, thank you everybody for being here. We're going to start with some introductions so you can get to know us a little bit better personally.
Yes, my name is Caroline Carr. You should all know me from the previous ritual on Sunday. My pronouns are she and her, and I do take a, let's say, administrative role typically in this group. I have frequently taken the role of coordinator in rituals, although our current diminished number has required me to take on other roles.
I'm Ren. I use he, they pronouns. You all may recognize me from around campus. I've been posing as his student for many years, but secretly have been harboring this dark, dark side of me all along, and it has now just been revealed to you. Within everyone here, I guess I'm the most knowledgeable about humans and human culture. The others can get too wrapped up in their own things and fail to keep up with the times. I don't really have a particular role in rituals that I do, but yet I'm still compelled to consume essence as my comrades here.
For the record, I'd like to say, I think Ren is too hard on himself.
Someone has to be.
Technically, they're right. We're dangerous. That said, I did catch them giggling uncontrollably at a YouTube video of a cat 3 days ago.
That was
make
taken
of that
out of context.
Make of that what you will. My name is Rufus. As we mentioned before, I don't have fangs. I am one of the less traditionally vampires, if you will. I am more often called a werewolf, although that's also not correct. It's weird. I don't want to get into it too much. But within the group, I function as a sigillographer and scientist, mainly with somewhat arcane systems, but I work with modern things as well. And I keep this group from killing each other and keep other people from killing them as well. I have lost most of my friends over the last couple of centuries, and these are all I have left, and I will protect them very vigilantly, which is why we are having this meeting to work on keeping everybody safe.
Thank you, Rufus. As I said, I'm Merle Myers. I use any pronouns, and I kind of do a lot in the group. A little bit over the place. A bit of organizational stuff, a lot of history and archives, and a lot of research into that history. Um, yeah. So let's see. I see Newt is in the chat, or in this call, so I'm going to let them unmute and they can introduce themselves.
Hello, everybody. I'm Newt, she, they. I'm not a vampire per se, or at all, really, but I asked them to do research assistance or help out with research sometimes, so that's why I'm here.
Thanks, Newt. All right, so thank you everybody for being here. I'm sure you have a lot of questions for us. So let's see. Yes, we're going to start with our history of kind of how we got here, what we're doing in Oberlin, that sort of thing. So some of this is on Newt's Notes website, but we'd like to tell it from our point of view. So we're from the class of 1837, the first class here at Oberlin. We started as students in 1833. Our senior year, we had a project or a educational subject on magic. And the final demonstration that we had, the magic ritual went kind of wrong. And the whole class unexpectedly ended up tied to this Oberlin demon. So that was a that was a big thing that yeah. So because of that, we have to give the demon energy, which is what you have all heard referred to as essence, and that's sort of where we get our vampire traits, is through this bind to the demon. And these traits include a lot of things. Again, some of this I know is on Newt's notes. Certain things include fangs, as Rufus mentioned. They do not have fangs. Other things include, do you guys want to share some of your traits?
My skin sparkles.
Ren, your skin didn't sparkle before 2005.
I don't know why it started happening, just that it did.
I've seen the jar of glitter in your room.
That is completely unrelated.
Sure it is.
All right. So again, we have vampire-ish traits. They're not exactly consistent with other vampire folklore. For example, my teeth have gotten longer today because I'm stressed. And it's fine. They haven't been this long since I was trying to be a chem major a few years back. But it's fine. We're dealing with it. Here we are. So let's keep moving. Oh yes, one more important trait. We do have conditional mortality. Or sorry, immortality. I suppose also conditional mortality. What it means is that we don't really age and we don't die as of old age. We can still die of causes such as like extreme body damage and magic gone wrong. So we have actually had some vampires die in the past. We started off with a few dozen of us, and now there's only 4. Well, okay, there's 5 if you count August. He doesn't really help with the whole demon essence thing anymore, yet he's still alive because he's still very much bound to the demon. But I want to make it very clear to you all that August is a traitor, was part of our group, has been with us since, or has been a vampire since 1837, but is a traitor and does not cooperate with us anymore, has gone his own way. And you will be hearing from him next. I believe their meeting is soon after ours, but yes, that's what you need to know, is that August is a traitor.
I'd just like to interject. I do understand August's moral convictions, but I think he has a narrow view of the situation and its potential consequences. And some of the louder voices in his alliance have a similarly narrow view of things. And together they tend to reach for easy solutions which have side effects they haven't considered.
I have tried to understand him for many years, and while sometimes I get close on a theoretical level, he is still a traitor, and he still thinks he is so much better than us, even though at the end of the day, he is still bound to the demon.
His
Anyway,
objections do not excuse him.
all right, moving on. So, as we've hopefully already explained to you all have your essences are safe. You did an amazing jobs powering your sigils, and your essences are safe.
Are they safe with us still in their lives?
We are, as I said, working on it.
Yes, if you let me. The problem now is that the demon lately has needed more energy. It has needed more essence. That is why we had the ritual that we did the other day. That's why we had the blood awareness events. We do think it has to deal with the way in which there have been less students on campus in the past year. We don't know exactly if that's it, but either way, the demon has needed more energy. So, you might ask, can we just kill the demon, get rid of it? We want to make it very clear that that is not an option because, first of all, that would kill us. But more importantly, and this is very important, it is very dangerous for the college as a whole. I've, believe me, the past 24, 48 hours, however long it's been, I have been digging through my archives and this is unprecedented. I cannot find any information of anything similar to this that would be of much help right now. But we do know that killing the demon is dangerous.
There is a very high probability, 78.63% chance that any life within 382 miles of here diameter would be extinguished.
Yes.
We're trying to protect you, but obviously there are some things that even we can't protect against.
I'm going to try to dispel that drama. We are doing our best to protect you, and we will need some help. We'll get to that shortly, but first I want to pause for a sec and ask, do people have questions? I do see some questions in the chat. I'm also going to unmute Newt again in case there's anything they have to add. I see some questions about the intentions of the Sunday ritual and why your essence was so immediately at risk. So we did mean to drain the essence. Rufus, do you want to talk a bit about why things didn't go the way they were supposed to, like what the difference is between draining the essence and what happened?
Yes, the sigil was only supposed to transfer energy, and it was drawn under that assumption, but the feedback portion of it was actually transferring both energy and demonic essence between the demon and yourselves. We've never noticed that before because that feedback loop is a safeguard which was never triggered before. And we had more people than we expected, therefore more energy, therefore that loop was triggered and caused a chain of side effects.
Hopefully that helps.
We've been asked if we run universal donor. No, I've never heard of that.
Safeguard against too much energy being transferred too quickly. I can go into more detail about it later if we want to, but for now it's not. The super details aren't that important.
Merle, there's a question about what August is a traitor against exactly. You seem equipped to take this one.
There's a lot to go into there. I'd be happy to talk about it a bit more in depth later, just because we're on limited time. Basically against us, and he has certain moral convictions that are not exactly justified with the reality of our situation as vampires. And he turned his back on a group of people who supported him for a long time. And not only that, but because of it has a certain moral high ground, even though, as I previously said, he is still a vampire and is only alive because of his bind to the demon. I will not go farther than that, I think, right now. We do have some questions that I think are important. Thank you. For those of you who don't like the term vampire, what would you like to be called? I've tried to use the term vamps. I don't know if y'all like that. We see.
No, I do not. I would prefer adjectives over nouns. I am still a person.
Are we though?
Yes, Ren. Maybe cursed people, but still people.
Cursed, I'll agree if you want.
With glitter smeared on our faces.
I told you, it's natural.
And I know it's not.
I'm partial to the term immortals myself. Not that I'm that offended by the word vampire, it just gives people a skewed impression of what we are, which isn't always correct or useful.
To further explain why I tend to be fine with the term vampires, I'm really used to using it amongst the small group of us, and to me, I know that all of us understand our certain situation, and that by using it, I know what I mean and they know what I mean. But I do recognize that that's not the case for all of you, so perhaps there are better terms to be using right now.
We've been asked if we drink blood, and the answer is not literally.
But the compulsion to drain human essence is just as strong as, for example, Edward Cullen would have for drinking blood. Still as equally dangerous to you also, might I add.
Right. I'd be happy to talk about my own personal moral theories and personal attachments to the question of blood drinking. I had a Jewish phase at one point. It's very complicated when you're immortal to have any relationship with religion, but we could talk about that more later. Graduates of 37. How do we feel about that? I guess that does include August, though, and often we want to differentiate from our group and the ABC.
Wasn't August a
think he's-
freshman? I think August graduated 1840.
August was, oh yeah,
Um,
I'd forgotten, yes. He was someone's, not assistant, someone's tag along.
was present at the ritual. Thank you for that correction. It's been a long day.
Mm-hmm.
Short question, my background is Peters Hall.
I would like to answer Emily's question. Again, Edward Cullen only sparkles in the sunlight. I sparkle all the time. I don't know why that is the case. It just simply is.
All right, I'm going to take one more question and then we're going to move on and we can come back to some questions again at the end. So getting some questions about what does it mean if a human's essence is drained and what happens when it's completely drained. At least one effect of it is that right now you guys are able to see through what we call glamour. Basically, you can see magic. When your essence is drained, one noticeable effect right away is that you will no longer be able to see through glamour. I don't know if anyone else has anything to add to that.
It's akin to having your blood taken at a say a Red Cross donation. Lightheadedness, dizziness, a little bit of weakness. The more you lose, the worse it gets.
Yes. To clarify, glamour is sort of a magical barrier that prevents most people from seeing magic. So for example, before Sunday night, you all were unaware of and could not see magic, but now you are, and now you can. And so yes, the first step is of your essence being drained is you can't see through glamour anymore. So that will be if at any point anything happens and your essences do get drained, or if you hadn't made that protective sigil, that would have been the first symptom, but it can continue on as your essence deteriorates more to physical harm.
And no, it does not replenish. So once it's gone, it is gone.
Thank you all for those questions. We are going to move on because we have one more thing to talk about. We can come back to some questions. All right, so now you might be asking what's next? As you all seem pretty worried about your essence, about what's happening. So what happens next? And that's a great question. One part of the answer is we're still working on it. We're again working really hard to figure out what all this means and to figure out what to do with the demon, which has been a present problem for a little while now, but now it's more intense and we really need to figure it out. As we're doing that, we do need your help. So the demon is bound with a lot of complicated magic, and right now we're working on the really complex parts of that, but there are some simpler sigils scattered around campus that form certain binding points, and they need to be reinforced. Unfortunately, we are not exactly sure where all of these binding points are. We do, however, have some old files that I have been able to dig out that have some clues as to where they are, but they were written by older vampires that unfortunately are not alive anymore. So we will be in communication with all of you to give you that information, and as we are busy working on the more complex magic and what we're all more familiar with, we really are going to put a lot of trust in you to be able to find these sigils and perform some rituals to help us keep the demon bound, which will help further keep all of us safe.
I will be sending out an email to everyone who has attended this meeting. Obviously, you have some concern for our plight, I suppose you could call it. I will send out an email to all of you with further instructions.
I see some questions about, did the rain affect any sigils? No, the sigils that are important for binding the demon have not been affected. And we'll keep you updated again with information in case anything does happen. The people who didn't create the protective sigil, yes, they have by now lost their essence and can no longer see through glamour, so they are not able to be attending this meeting or be further part of this process.
Too many people. That's how many people it was.
Was a non-zero number.
Anything else? If you asked a question earlier and I missed it, feel free to ask again. I'm technology, you know? Name of the demon. Good question. We really just refer to it as the demon, pronoun-wise, it. Yeah.
Demon is honestly generous. It implies that it's a being, and it is not in our senses.
Has this failure ever happened before? No. We have, of course, had, magic and sigils not work quite right, but this sort of failure has not happened.
We've had much worse failures in our history, though, however.
I don't think we need to dwell on those.
I would also prefer not to dwell on it. Just
No
bring
need for the drama. Rufus, do you want to take how do you identify a sigil?
It can be difficult to tell a sigil apart from, say, just a picture of a sigil, but if something is constructed according to sigillographic guidelines and it contains a power source, then it can function as a sigil. So if you understand the basic anatomy of a sigil, you should be able to recognize them.
And sigils can look different. Sometimes they're stylized to fit the each person's or each being's preferred magic, and so they can look different. Although for you all right now, you are learning a very certain type of sigil that's is best for you guys to master right now. A good question about the alliterative names among our class. These are not our original names. We do have past names. Some of our past vampire names are on Newt's notes, so I'm sure you've seen some of them. They're not unspeakable. To be clear, they're not like a dead name. This is just the names we currently use and that we prefer. Because that's what we use now, and the other ones are in the past or get rotated through. But yes.
You get bored going by one name after a few decades.
And it makes for some confusing paperwork sometimes.
I was about to say administrations aren't particularly fond of our original names.
We make it work.
We have 9 minutes, 45 seconds left.
Yes. So I think if anyone has any more questions, we could take a couple more.
There's a question for Newt.
I got it.
The worst failures are too dark and too painful to get into right now.
Again, Ren is dramatic.
But we would rather not talk about them.
We've been around for a long time, and we're doing our best. I hope you can trust us on that.
If you do trust us, we will do everything in our power to protect you.
Thank you.
That is true, as much as it might be a quote.
Should we wrap up then?
I think so. All right. So again, thank you all for coming. You'll be hearing from us shortly with more information on looking for the sigils that you will need to help us in binding. I know that you'll probably be hearing from the ABC tonight, should you choose to go to that meeting as well. Keep in mind what we've told you. They are in favor of actions that could lead to the destruction of Oberlin. I know that August may seem like a charismatic leader, but it's not always wise to listen to the people who act like they know everything. Please do feel free to reach out and talk to any of us.
My DMs are open anytime.
My DMs are also open, but I think in a different way than Ren is implying.
I'm not
I think
always
everybody's DMs
around,
are open
but
in a different way.
Yes. Okay. And I do want to say if I do ever seem absent or away, I'm doing my best to be present and to be answering you all. But we are working very hard. Oh yes. Oh, I see a question in the chat. There is a Discord server.
Newt, do you want to send them that link?
Yes, you should have that in an
Yes.
email. But we'll make sure you all get added. So yes.
Check your emails, everybody.
And you should have our emails and our Discords, again, especially after that ABC meeting. If you would like to talk, if you have more questions, we'll be open. Anything else, guys? Alrighty. Hang in there, everyone. We will be sending out a video of this meeting in case you or anyone you know needs it.
And I will be contacting you with further instructions if you wish to help.
Thanks, everyone.